And welcome back to the Midnight Mook Podcast. I know it's been a while. It's been about 3 weeks or so. We do apologize for that, but we've just had certain things come up, and
They don't know that.
stuff has been happening. What do you mean?
We just uploaded our YouTube video like last week, didn't we?
That's fair. That is fair.
So if this
You
is on
ruined the
time,
introduction. No, this is on time. This one's on time.
yeah, this is gonna have to be. We're gonna get back on schedule. Even though we said that last time, we're gonna get back on schedule, and we're actually gonna upload consistently.
Let's hope so, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are back. I hope you guys are all excited, and I hope you guys are all ready to join us on this Midnight Milk ride. And to segue into it, today we're going to be talking about something that I feel is very important to everyone's day-to-day life, including ours, and considering we're in high school, is mortality and motivation. Most people will probably chalk it up as just like, oh, mortality is just thinking on, why we exist and why we live, and motivation is just, I gotta get my stuff done, and so they do. But I feel like you can explain it and go dive into it way more than just leaving it as to those two vague, IDs.
Yeah.
IDs.
This is definitely one of the things that every single person here, watching or not watching, has struggled with every single day. Because I mean, getting up in the morning, that is your first task of the day. That requires a lot of motivation. I actually saw like a YouTube thumbnail and title saying like, why bodies are not made to get up in the morning or something. It was like, why no one ever wants to get up in the morning. It's just because like, well, just a wild gander. It's maybe because you've been sitting still for 9 hours.
Yeah.
Hopefully 9 hours.
I do not get 9 hours of sleep on a school night.
Wow. It's school. Makes me wonder though, like, what is work life like?
For my parents, it seems a lot better, honestly. Well, mainly because they work from home.
Oh yeah.
Like, they get paid the same as like a what's it called? Factory job, but they do it at home. So I mean,
how many hours do they put in a day?
7 to 4, and then 7:30 to 4:30.
7 to 4. Yeah, I mean sounds typical.
About an 8 hours. But yeah, I would honestly much rather do that because they just get to stay in their comfy clothes all day. Now,
Yeah.
granted, what my field is, and what I want to go into, I would be active, and I'd much rather prefer to be active. But the only reason why I would be motivated to get out of bed for work would be because that's something like I'm going there for one because I know that I will have monetary value being added to that, and not only that, but it's also the thing that I want to do.
Yeah.
Now, granted, everyone's view on it is different. Whether you're working a fast food job, or if you couldn't get the job in your field that you wanted, then you're just working wherever you can find, and I completely understand that. But for what I want to do is of course, I want to be a car mechanic for either diesel or normal vehicles, and you can't really do that from home.
Yeah.
But I would not mind getting out of bed for that. Like, if I were going to go do that daily, I would not mind to go and get out of bed for that.
Well, I mean, yet again, I'm sure you're gonna have your struggles.
Well, of course.
But you're not. I mean, you can't fully say that with full confidence because it's not like you're there yet. So, the main.
But I know I would enjoy it more than school.
Oh yeah. The main reason I was thinking about both mortality and motivation is, I mean, certain someone suggested we talk about mortality, and then other than that, I was, for some reason, one of the lyrics from Boy in the Band, "Don't Stay in School" lyrics, was in my head, which was like, what is the thing that makes makes the world function? Like, how do people get motivation? And I mean, there's whole TED Talks and lectures on it. I love my dogs. Sorry. There's whole like TED Talks, lectures on it, but I also was thinking of there's a lot of talks that I had with like just random people scouring the internet on VR chat, where they're like, I hate war. I hate like how people just have to pay for stuff and like economy. Like, why don't we just make everything cheaper? Which they have not paid attention in math class, I guess. Um,
No, or any history class that is.
or yeah, any history class, but um, it's oh my gosh, it's a whole political thing to get into, but basically the premise of economy, and we started off with um like motivation to what's it called when you work for someone else.
You're
There's
employed by them.
no, it's there's two types of things that you buy, and one's services, right? There's the first thing that like services exist for is we used to trade and barter, right? It's like I give you this thing, you give me that thing, and a lot of people do that to this day, right? And it's just simple transactions like, oh, can you do this for me? And then like you eventually pay them back later in some other deed, right? Um,
Hmm.
but now it comes down to we've invented, which is honestly really smart, this unit where it basically symbolizes, hey, if I were to give you this, you could use this for like more than whatever I could, like whatever else I could give you, right? And you could actually use it for your own benefit, maybe to get something else out of someone else, and I mean, it's brilliant, honestly. There's no other way I could think of it, because it's like some people argue, they're like, why doesn't everyone just do what's expected of them? And first of all, that's just not possible from anyways. And second of all, there was a thing for that. It's called communism. Um,
And
that's what that is.
look at where that took people.
Yeah. So it's just the issue with that is like, I mean, if there was no repercussions to going to like school every morning, no one would go to school.
Yeah.
Even for people who might like top of the class people, right? Who enjoy going to school. Now, granted, there are some people who may have a better school life than home life, and that's understandable. But it's like there's, I mean, so many people out there. There's like, I'm just having an off day. I'm just not going to go to school today.
And that's fair. Like, if you just take a day to like take a mental health day, I took one Monday,
Really?
and that was mainly just because I had been working and going to school and not had a day to sleep for 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, because you have
So
band.
like, I've had band. I have been busy either going out almost every day of the week or leaving the house.
Hmm.
And then for the weekends, I was either outside doing band stuff or I was going to my grandma's for work.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks of not being able to sleep in, and I was like, I'm very tired.
Yeah. um Another thing about those like mental health days is like it was something crazy, like the school allowed people to have like 5 mental health days a
I've heard
semester or
about that.
something. Yeah, I'm sure we've talked about it before, but again, with school is like theoretically, honestly, like what does absences really do to you? Much. Like if you really space out your absences, you could have a lot, you could skip a lot of school if you really wanted to. But the
Hmm.
thing is like you miss depends on your placement. You miss one day at school, that's a week of work to make up. At least for me. It's maybe it's like three days to a week of work to make up. Just because you have to distribute and balance all of your other classes while balancing the classes that you just missed.
Yeah.
And so it's just not worth it.
You know what's really interesting for me,
Hmm.
and that I feel like a lot of people that don't know this should know, especially if you are very stressed about school. Your grades do not count until the very end of the school year.
Well, semesters.
They count as your quarter grades and like what you're doing,
Yeah.
but your grades do not count towards your life until your last grade or until the end of your school year. I didn't know that.
No,
I thought
no.
they always tracked that.
It's semester. Well, what about semester long classes?
Then those are tracked by the last grade you get.
Yeah.
But it's like, let's say you have like quarter grade for semester one. That quarter grade will not affect you in your future. That is just saying this is what you have currently.
Yeah.
And
This is how
yeah,
you're retaining the information, or like how you're like outputting it from what you have retained, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little indicator saying, "Hey, you might need to work more." Um,
Yeah, I didn't know that for the longest time.
yeah.
That it was like that it doesn't count towards your life until the very
Yeah.
last bit. Goofy.
I was overhearing a conversation in English class, and people were like, "Oh yeah, whenever COVID hit, they were like having such a struggle." And they're like, "Oh yeah, this class is my least favorite." And I was literally I was like failing all my classes, and I was like, I slept through COVID, and I got an A. I just have a really good tendency. I just sleep through most of my classes, and I just get an A. I have it down really. It's just management, really smart management, you know.
Fair.
Some people just have to work harder, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It people are just built differently. Um, Other thing that I wanted to talk about is the really interesting idea of narcissism and how that could affect motivation, mortality, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
the drive for narcissism, but the idea of like what I mean, what like religion or beliefs do narcissists have, right? Um, is there such thing as like a Christian narcissist? Like, well, I'm sure there is because it's like, oh, God
Yeah.
created me for this special thing, right? You know, is there such thing as atheist narcissist? It's like, okay, I'm on top of the world. I am. I don't know. It's
I get
crazy,
what you're saying.
but the main thing is like sometimes I have those moments where I might feel on top of the world, but it's no excuse to be an asshole to another person because if you really think about it, and I'm not sure if I talked about this before, but this is a really interesting idea that I have. If you really think about it from a super narcissistic perspective, and you are worth more than everybody, first of all, um, you might be worth more than each individual in your head, but there is no way that you're able to think that you're worth more than a group combined of people, right? Because I mean, like, it's not like you created the internet, the wheel, the car, right? You can't create these things
Yeah.
single-handedly from your mind. This is a group effort of people, right?
I've
Passed down from
never
generations.
I've never understood narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah.
Could be because I'm not a narcissist, but the point still stands is like if there's so many things that came before you that were measured in such a magnitude that they became something that everyone talks about at least once in their life or uses on their day-to-day life,
Mm-hmm.
yet you think you're better than that.
What can you do? You know, I'll go
Yeah.
back to that. But second of all, like, people usually associate narcissists with assholes, which yes, there are a lot of cases where people who have narcissistic disorder or narcissistic asshole disorders, I think that's what it's called. But so, I mean, you could be a narcissist and just be a casual coworker, no one would know, right? Same thing with psychosis, schizophrenia, and all of these things that are framed for having these like, oh, if you have this, then you're just absolutely batshit crazy. But I mean, it's a psychopath, sociopaths, right? Maybe some person who's incapable of feeling empathy, any of that stuff. They could just be your casual coworker. You don't know. They function throughout their life, right? But the thing that gets me with narcissists of being assholes is that, um, like, wow, treating someone badly, like what does that gain from you? Well, for you in aspect, right? Because if you're an asshole to everyone around you, you have a lesser chance of getting farther in the world than if you're nice to everybody. Because if you're nice to a person, they give you more stuff. Like objectively speaking, if you're nice to people, then they tend to give back, and it just makes your life easier, right? And there is no point of being an asshole to someone or putting your life in danger just to prove a point, because it doesn't gain you any value, you know. That's You lose value in that aspect. You can't really get far without other people, and you might
Yeah.
be better than them, but it's at a numbers standpoint, they get you farther.
But I guess it's always I guess it just also depends on I guess how hard they get humbled.
Yeah.
Because granted, that's just something that I feel comes with experience. With like literally anything you do, the more experience you have, the better you are, and the more intelligent that I feel you are. So if you haven't gone through those life experiences of being humbled enough, or you haven't had many interactions where you are the person that is lesser than others, then I can understand that. But eventually, you will have to.
Yeah. I think I might be sick, bro. Sorry. I like last night I wasn't feeling too well either. I was just kind of like, I was just kind of down. That's about it. Just physically.
Fair enough.
What was the other thing? We're talking about like narcissist's goal in life. Whoa, okay. I guess I am sick. Okay. Either that or I'm going through puberty part 4. Anyway, that's the main priority. So you are birthed, right? You freshly come
You
out of
are
the womb.
birthed.
Yeah, we're starting it
You
off.
sound like you sound like a priest. That's
You
like
just okay, just like a video game, right? You just start your run, right?
okay.
You just start your
You're
run.
done. You're done.
What is your goal? Like what is the main defining goal? How do you win? You know? Like I guess the start would be like when you first are able to retain and gain consciousness, which is like 2. Because I think memory, that was like the memory part of your brain starts developing at 2 or something like that.
Mhm.
Which by
Well,
the way,
it's 3 once you become like physically conscious.
yeah. So which by the way, people are like, oh, I remember. I remember like these things. I remember being in my mom's room. No, you don't.
Well, there are some experiences that do stick in your brain.
Is that possible though?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
But
That's
but no one
wacky.
can technically disprove you
And
be, because
yeah.
people have had those, like some people have had those same experiences but don't say anything about them because they don't believe that they can believe it.
Oh yeah. No, I totally get you understand. We were talking about dementia and amnesia and in our English class today because we were going over all of these disorders, and basically the end goal is we're going to write an essay on how media affects like the view of mental health, right, and mainly disorders. But we went over like again narcissism, psychosis, schizophrenia, psychopathy, DID, dementia, Alzheimer's, stuff like that, and just how media portrays it and how it could affect the way we view mental health today. And we went over dementia and Alzheimer's, and I don't even remember what I was talking about. Yeah, I had the thought of, ever heard of like false memories?
Yeah.
And first of all, with that kind of stuff, it plays a major role. But like, say you like physically you actually do and retained some sort of thing that's stuck in your brain. Oh yeah, we were on the topic of it was like long term and short term memory, right? Where you have your fundamentals, like your parents' name. It's just it sticks in your brain, right? That's something you usually don't forget. And then you have your short term memory. You have a long conversation. Maybe someone tells you 5 sentences, right? You're not going to be able to remember each individual word from their sentence, but you're gonna be able to get the general gist so you can respond to the conversation and maybe throw it out of your brain, right? So whenever you take in information, it kind of sits in the short-term memory area of your brain, and then if it's actually like necessary, like important enough to remember, then it feeds back into your long-term memory of the brain, right? So
Mm-hmm.
maybe, theoretically speaking, maybe you might be able to stick some sort of information in there into your long-term memory or some part of your brain where you might remember some sort of sound or something or feeling from being in the womb. But what's not to say that's a false memory, you know? You might
Mm-hmm.
have made that up and remembered it, you know? And it'd be just as easy because that it's from so long ago that it's just you don't have much recollection of it. So a false memory would be just as apparent or even more apparent than an actual memory because your brain was so underdeveloped.
Hmm. I have a question for you.
Hmm.
And I mean, this is kind of aside, different from what we were just talking about, but back, kind of going back to narcissism in a way. When does fake it till you make it become bad?
Where are you making it to?
Don't know.
Exactly. Fake
Like,
it. I mean, it's basically just saying bottle it up and throw it away later because there is no making it when you fake something. When you go throughout your day like faking that you're okay, you're just gonna go home and explode, right? Like I guess that and the short term you made it through the day, right? I'm sure what that term means, but I
I mean,
mean,
I guess, but I have always heard fake it till you make it.
make it yeah, but make it where though? That's the question. That was the initial question that I'm asking. Like,
Yeah, and that's the question that I feel like needs to, or I feel like that's something that needs to be said.
what's the final boss? Well, where is that?
Because no one mentions that.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, oh, fake it till you make it, and you're good. Like,
I mean,
no one says when to stop faking it.
but that's what makes life so interesting though. Is that like there you exist and you don't really have any set goal. You're not you have guidance, but it's kind of like I keep thinking of like Soulsborne games in my head.
I
Like
can tell.
you sure you can go in this general direction, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the main story, but you don't have to, and you might be punished in some way or another, or for jumping ahead of things. But like again in life, like sure you're being told to go to school, and it might set you up in the way that older generations have made it for you to make it easier for your life. You don't technically have to, though,
Hold on, I have to go move my fan. It is so incredibly hot right here. Be right back.
bruh.
Just ramble for a second. It'll literally take like 10 seconds.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no that was another thing that some people were like made the claim and they're like, well,
Okay, I'm
technically,
back.
like ever heard like the quote of like you can do anything if you put your mind to it, right?
Mhm.
And then some like snarky asshole is like, well, technically, like you can't
Think
do
I'll
anything.
fly.
Yeah, you didn't go fly, bro. Well, first of all, jetpacks. Second of all, um, planes. You know. But second of all, it comes down to the question of like, well, I mean, like, technically speaking, you don't like have to obey by the law. So technically, you can do anything that you've really put your mind to.
Seeing as you telling people to go break the law.
But there are repercussions because obviously when you do something bad it has a negative effect. So Newton's third law, baby. Which
Again, going back to the narcissist thing, I
yeah.
wonder, like, my own little statement on it, because I was gonna say it, completely forgot about it, and it just came back to me. Um, I feel like a lot of people think that they cannot have any self motivation without being called a narcissist or egotistical or whatever it
Yeah.
may be. They get called, but there's a difference between having a head on your shoulders and believing that you're better than everyone around you. But I
Yeah.
feel like, especially with kids and immature people around you, they will tell you that what you're doing, in the sense of you trying to believe that you have some self-worth and that what you're doing is good, and what you are trying to be good at, you are okay or good at. There's a difference in, like I said, but believing that you know what you're doing to believing that you know what you're doing and no one else can do it like you.
Ooh, let's talk about ignorance. That's a fun one.
Ignorance.
We've talked about it a lot before where it's like here's all the terrible crushing things of the world, and I wish I would I wish I was just bliss to this, but it was like peaceful bliss or something.
Hmm.
There is a phrase for it,
But
but
that's the mortality side
yeah,
of
give me a
ignorance.
second. Give me a second. So you know when mainly internet people. You know when you see an argument online and they're like, "Oh, this person's just ignorant," right? And they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, and like
Yeah.
if someone, first of all, no one, there's not one person who knows everything, so it might be like less known in the field that you're talking about. That doesn't make them a lesser of a person, but people always put themselves above people who don't know what they're talking about, because we like to make ourselves feel better, and people like to be right. I don't have to go into that. That's just a well-known statement. People like to be right. But when it comes to like ignorance, like sure, someone might be ignorant, do stupid things, but like in the quote unquote end goal, how does that make them any different from you?
Yeah.
And that ties directly to motivation. If we're all if we're all gonna die in the end anyway, what's the point? I mean, it's a serious question, right? And
Exactly.
like, what are we doing? Why are we doing it?
I just feel like there's a lot of people out there that say you cannot get things wrong, or will say like, "Oh wow, you got this information wrong. Jeez, can't believe you. You must be so stupid." And then they rub it in your face when you get it wrong.
I mean, that's how you learn, though, right? I'm sure they had to. They had to learn it some
Exactly.
way, you know.
But there's a difference between being like, "You're wrong, kid," and then they,
Back to Elden Ring,
"Oh my god."
or I mean, it's like trial and error on like a fresh boss, right? And after you've beaten the boss, you're gonna rub it in everyone's faces, right? Because you're like, several, I've spent 5 hours just grinding the hell out of this boss, and then you're gonna rub it in everyone's face because like you just created a big accomplishment. It's the same thing for that, right? Where someone might have spent a godforsaken amount of hours in whatever subject they're learning,
Oh
and
no, no, no! I'm not saying you can't brag about it,
yeah, I know, and
but,
but
but
there's
don't
reason
be.
behind it, you know.
Mhm. But don't, you know, talk about it 24/7. Because if
It's
you base your whole personality, or you base what your one action that you've done as like something that everyone must know about, then it gets really annoying. But if you like mention it and then you have a discussion with other people about that said topic, and then you move on, that's normal.
yeah.
And if you bring it up every so often, if it's relevant to the conversation, that's just a normal conversation.
Yeah, like I back squatted 155 for for 6 second holds. I was so proud of myself. So anyway, I was in a weightlifting class. It's APC in our school, and arguably compared to the people there, I'm a freshman, so arguably it's not that much. People were squatting a lot more than I was, but my knees hurt, like my legs, my quads were burning afterwards. It was like back squat, or yeah, I don't know, remember. I think it was my quads. I mean they were burning afterwards, so I just rubbed it in everyone's face how much I squatted. It's I weigh 145. It's 10 pounds over, which honestly it's not that much. But like sitting down there for 6 seconds, it's like your eyes are just dead, like locked in front of you, and you have to scrape and find some sort of motivation in order to just like not collapse. But
Mhm.
uh, go on.
There's so many aspects of motivation,
Yeah,
ranging from work to school to, I don't know, just doing certain tasks. And then you have motivation where it's for your own mental health, where you need to just take time for yourself and do something like, I don't know, meditating or going to the doctors or something like that, where that's you're required to motivate yourself into doing these actions that you might not want to do, but they're
to
better for you.
hygiene shit. Yeah.
Hmm. Hygiene as
Um.
well. Like there's just so many tasks that requires motivation that I don't feel like enough people mention and then recognize.
I
It's
mean,
good to recognize it,
yeah.
just don't, you know, get over don't over boast about it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a struggle. I come home from tennis at 6. Right, I've woken up. I just spent practically 12 hours at school, right? I probably had weightlifting class that day. My legs are dead. I I'm really sweaty, and I sit down on my chair, and I have to sit there for 30 minutes to find the motivation to take a shower. And I know that's disgusting, but like I
No,
literally don't want to move, you
yeah,
know?
you're exhausted.
And obviously it's better than me. And when I get out of the shower, I feel great because,
Hmm.
I just spent 12 hours of my day working. Uh I'm a need to relax, right? And it's great. It's just the simple things like that, you know?
Yeah, but there's also, there's the bad side, the motivation, where if you push yourself too hard, where it's starting to harm you, take a reality check. You can take a rain check for a second and go, maybe if I dialed it down just a little bit.
Yeah.
When do you think motivation becomes unhealthy?
Um I wouldn't know because I think I'm bad at that because sometimes I physically push myself a little too hard. I so for me, I mean, when it comes to motivation, it usually has to do with physical aspects because I'm just well, I'm asthmatic. I don't know. I've always had trouble with sports and stuff like that, but for me, I just haven't had much motivation to actually be physically active. Like even though I'm in like the weightlifting class, I play sports, right? But it's just hard for me. So sometimes I go a little too far, and maybe I. This is a long story, but one day I just kind of planked for 5 minutes in my room, and hurt me for a week. It was a stupid idea. So there's in tennis during the boys season we do this thing called circle of death where you get like 30 something boys on the tennis team and they all get into plank and they all have to do like a certain set of motions like tapping your opposing shoulder, doing a push-up, and then that's it. And you go around the circle, and if anyone drops you have to restart, right? So I mean you're probably there for a solid 3 to 4 minutes. So me and my friends joked around and were like, we're gonna practice every night planking so that when we actually get to circle of death, we just sit there for like 5 minutes each, like right next to the coach. And then like at the very end, we're just gonna drop, so we have to restart. But I mean we always joke around about it, but I was like, I'm curious how long could I do a plank? And it was like 4 5 minutes. I don't remember. But like
Jesus.
that's dumb. It's just dumb. And like you see like like animes like Naruto where he goes a little too far and like ends up like destroying himself. But yet for these kind of things people get appraised for though, you know?
Hmm.
So it's kind of hard for me to see like what is going too far because going too far in any I've never seen where going too far on a motivation thing has like been like not appraised. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That it just kind of seems like even though it's unhealthy, no one mentions it and we'll just go, "Great job."
Hmm.
And they say keep going.
Which
It's
is,
like,
by the way, how this is not a joke. Tragically, YouTubers like Nikata Avocado end up.
mhm, exactly.
That's the exact reasoning is he does this stupid crazy thing where he sits there and he eats a bunch of food on camera and people are like, wow, this is insane, how does he do this? And I'm sure he pushes himself every day. I mean he's destroying his body doing it, but people are so impressed that they give him praise for it. And he makes money, he makes a living off of this by killing himself on camera.
But he never once is told, like, or like he's told by people to like stop, but that number is insignificant compared to the people that tell him to keep going.
Yeah.
But I just there are many times, and I mean even with my own, where you I just lose track of time. Like
Yeah.
I lose track of the fact that I have no time.
Yeah.
So then I'm busy being busy by, I don't know, work, band, working outside with my family, and then hanging out with friends. There's a very key point where that motivation becomes harmful.
Yeah, yeah.
I think everyone here that is either listening or watching or whatever it may be has gone through one experience where they just need to take a break. Even though they are being praised for what they are doing, humble yourself and take a break. It does not hurt to relax. Take a day to yourself. It is okay to, just sit at home, watch a movie, watch some YouTube, or just sit and talk with some friends. Whatever you need to do to just ease your mind, do it. Don't try to kill yourself by working too hard. It's a thing you can do.
Oh
So,
yeah.
you know what? Little time here, you know what I mean? Just like listening to this podcast. If you would like, just stop whatever you're doing for a minute, listen to us talk. Or if you want, get off the podcast and go take a nap or something, or go to sleep.
Take a
For
drink
me,
of
it's like
milk.
8:30. Yeah, go downstairs. Go downstairs right now. And well, if you're lactose intolerant, then go get some water. But if you are not lactose intolerant, go grab some milk. Go grab yourself a glass of milk. We'll be here. We've still got another like hour and a half. So, well, hour 20-ish minutes. Point still stands. Go get
24
yourself.
and 30 seconds. Well,
Oh
actually,
my
24 and
god.
30 seconds.
Start counting down. But just yeah, just go get yourself. Go hydrate
5,
yourself.
4.
Go vibe. So yeah, take this time to go take a little mini break for yourself.
I find it really interesting that all of my lactose intolerant friends really enjoy the taste of milk.
I love the taste of milk.
And they're like, oh yeah, I drink milk a lot, even though it hurts. It tastes so good. I'm like, that's great. I personally, I don't. I mean, for me, I usually I don't go too far on food. Well, I eat a lot, but I don't eat a lot of the same thing, And stuff like milk, sugar, any of that, I usually can only have so much. I mean, milk is like eggnog to me.
Really?
It tastes great, but I can only have so much of it. Um,
Oh,
Same thing with
I drink
sugar.
like I drink like split a gallon of milk into like 3 parts,
Mm,
or like 3/4. Yeah, I drink like
it's thirds.
half a. I drink a half a gallon of milk like a day.
Mm. Why'd you want me to split it into thirds? What was that for?
Well, I meant to say 3 parts, or I did, but
You did.
I drink like 1 to 2 parts of milk a day.
You're just okay. Stop.
I love
Anyway,
milk.
anyway,
I
anyway,
love milk. I
anyway,
absolutely love milk.
anyway. Tying back to the topic at hand. I was watching. I think I was watching. It was the Odd Ones Out video on like the 5 Hour Energy. I'm not sure. I might be wrong, but um something about anyway, the video started off with the question and he said, "What is happiness?" Well, it's a drug in your brain. Or it's a chemical in your brain. And how do we set off that chemical? Drugs. Do drugs. And it was something stupid like that, right? But it sometimes occasionally pops in my head, and sometimes when I'm feeling down that pops in my head, and it makes me like existentialize for a bit. But I mean, if you really think about it, like the reason we do stuff is because there's chemicals in our brain that say, yes, good job. Like,
Yeah.
and you think about it on like a spiritual level, how does that objectively help like our quote unquote spirit, if you believe in that? Again, like the end goal, right? If we do stuff for the sole purpose of dopamine, like
Yeah. Then don't.
that is literally the drive of human motivation is dopamine
By the way,
or
I just want to say very
serotonin.
quickly, Toasty, if we get to affiliate, then we can plug in our own custom emojis. But you need to get people to follow this account. You need people to follow us and get more people talking in
Subscribe.
chat. Subscribe and follow. Subscribe and follow. If you see
Okay.
that, I know we have over 100 views on some of our other podcasts on YouTube. Get some of those people to come over to the Twitch and follow it, and you'll be able to use the emojis.
Speaking of using stuff, Dairy Queen
Is this a Dairy Queen ad?
Dairy Queen has an app where when you use Apple Pay on their scanner, you get free rewards, or with your card, if you have it tied to it, you get free rewards, and it's pretty cool. I don't know. I was sitting down at Dairy Queen with one of my friends, and he mentioned the app to me. I'm like, this is really useful. Dairy Queen knows how to run a business. You never hear dirt on Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen does it right. Dairy Queen does it right. Fresher than Subway. They have the meats. Honestly.
Oh yeah. Oh well, we don't have any like subscription stuff yet. One, because we're not affiliate, and two, I don't really want to make subscriptions. Like they require us to, but I'm only like when we do, I'm only gonna put like all the emojis in the first subscription because I really do not want people spending money on us.
We don't need money. We're kids.
Yeah, and I would feel bad taking your money.
Well, he might feel bad taking.
Zenith, shut up.
I'm joking. No, if you do, I'll set up an account and I'll split it between us because it's not like it's gonna go anywhere. But
literally, all it would go to is like video games.
We should like somehow finagle our way on like donating to small streamers kind of video and get like $1,000 quick.
If I could do that, I would love to do that.
Us donating to small streamers? We are a small streamer, Storm.
That's what I mean. Like I've always wanted to do that.
Well, yeah.
I've always wanted to do that.
Get popular, bro.
Either that or like donate to charities.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have an income, but I'd love to do that.
Like if we could do a charity live stream. Oh my god.
Bro, I curse a little too much. That's my concern. I've toned it down a little bit in this podcast. I still do curse, but I don't.
And that we would set restraints for that.
Yeah.
Wait, what are you quoting, Toasty? We've said many things. Words. What did you quote?
Well, that's things you can only dream of, you know. Speaking of that, dreams.
Like Dream SMP? What about Dream?
Okay. I'd like to. So I don't know how we're gonna tie this in somehow. I was in class in digital design 2 days ago, and I was sitting down and I sat at the table and I don't know. Teacher said something, whatever. I looked at a certain direction. Anyway, deja vu. I have it a lot, and sometimes it's in succession. Sometimes I have it like more 1 week and then never have it for like a month. But what ends up happening is I have like a dream that I can recall, just a random. I just have random dreams like a year prior, and then some certain event happens. I don't know what the dream means. It's just a jumbled mess, basically, right? Because in my future, quote unquote, right? So I don't know what it means. It's useless to me. It's like, oh, it's just another dream. And then it actually happens. I'm like, this seems too familiar. And I'm like, oh, I had a dream about this. I think about that a lot. And I don't do anything with that information. I just go, it's neat. It doesn't make me believe that I can predict the future or anything like that or crazy. Because, I mean, if you really think about it, like, what it can boil down to is I just had a random dream and I had a certain feeling in that dream. And then I experienced that same feeling a year down the road. And, oh, they're similar. You know, it's a coincidence, right? And it could boil down to a simple coincidence, obviously. But it's just because it's not like, oh, I remember this exact sentence from this exact person. And, oh, here they are later, you know? It's more of just like, oh, here's a random event that happened in my day-to-day life, and it was really similar to a dream I had of a random event that happened in my day-to-day life that wasn't a part of my life yet, you know?
Yeah.
Like I had a dream I was doing a lab in biology before I knew what biology was. You know? It's weird stuff like that, but again, it could just boil down to coincidence. And that's another thing, like dream studies, dream researchers. There's whole fields for this kind of stuff, right? And it's crazy. why do people dream?
I've always looked into why people dream, and it's usually, from what I can tell, is dreams are a way that your brain visualizes and puts into like a visual sense on how you are currently feeling
Mm.
and what is most strongest in your thoughts at that given point in
That's
time.
why I always dream about school.
I Okay, so little thing that I know I can point out is for some reason I've been remembering very specific parts of my dream
Mhm.
almost every single night. And that is
That
my
means you're
pet
not
snake.
getting much good sleep.
I guess not, but Ember, my pet snake, I've had him for 6+ years or so. 5 to 6 years, maybe 6 to 7, I don't remember. All I know is there was a day that he had gotten out and I couldn't find him for like a good solid like 10, 20 minutes. And so I got extremely worried. Like I knew I had an emotional attachment to him, but I did not think it was like almost start crying if he dies kind of thing.
Oh, sorry.
You're good. Bless you. But come to find out, he goes missing, and I just start panicking. Immediately start panicking. And luckily, we find him. But I was like on the verge of like bawling because I couldn't find him. But um, ever since that day, which was about a good solid 3, 4 days now. No, that was Saturday. Uh,
You got this.
Saturday, so about a week ago. 5 days. And ever since then, Ember has been in every single one of my dreams, and he has either been on me or in my line of sight. So that is one experience that I have with dreams where they are very connected.
And it's just kind of crazy how that happens. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
again, it could just be like, well, sometimes that may have happened before where you had a connection of dreams and they're all very similar and then nothing happened. But then, you had it one time and something happened. It's like, oh, it's a correlation. You don't know. But I'd like to point out just a couple of interesting facts that I've theorized. I've actually not searched any of these things up, but some scientists or dream study or psychologists, you tell me if I'm wrong. So lucid dreams typically happen at the end of your sleep, and you've noticed that, right? You have a lucid dream, it's going great, you wake up. And the reason for that is because, well, first of all, in order to start a lucid dream, you have to realize you're dreaming. So you have to have some sort of state of consciousness, which usually would probably happens when your body is saying like, "Hey, it's about time to wake up soon," and your brain starts like getting active and firing, right?
Time to wake up, sleepyhead.
So, and that's another reason why you're also able to remember lucid dreams more often than other dreams, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, maybe nightmares might be different because when you have a nightmare, you trigger your flight or fight response, your brain becomes more active, you start to remember it more. Anyway, the reason, and I don't remember where I remember this, but the reason why we are not able to remember dreams is because while you're in the dream state, you kind of have like a hormonal imbalance. Your brain is not perfectly at its highest functioning point, obviously, because it doesn't need to be, right? So it's you're at a hormonal imbalance, which messes with your long term memory, I'm sure. Um, but it's interesting to note whenever you have these very like prevalent dreams that like are symbolic or anxiety inducing, maybe nightmares every night. Like for me, I I can't get much sleep at night during school days because I keep thinking about the next day. All the tasks I need to get done before sleep, which eventually causes me to have dreams about school, right? So, but that also has a direct correlation with like I might not be entering like a certain step of the dream cycle because my brain isn't dying down enough, right? So, which in return, maybe like my hormones don't get off balanced, and I start to have better remembrance, and I'm able to retain my dreams more than usual. Wacky
Mm.
stuff. And to tie that into the topic, um, Yeah, again, why how does dreaming like help people in any sort of sense of the end goal, quote unquote? You know?
I feel that dreaming, and I mentioned this earlier, is that um dreaming is usually what you either want or is currently going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now, granted, some dreams are very unrealistic or can be unrealistic in the sense that they're either a nightmare or you can fly, blah 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 blah. You know what I'm talking about. But if you have dreams where you are only visualizing the things you want to accomplish, if you have a dream of when you've accomplished that, when you've accomplished the goals that you've wanted to accomplish, and you are now doing what you've wanted to do, you could push yourself to that. You could say, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Will your dreams always be that accurate? Most likely not. Will they probably be something really stupid? Most likely. But either way, you might get that one in a lifetime chance, or occasionally, every once in a while, get a dream where you are just dreaming of what you want.
And that is the reason why dreams is a synonym to aspirations.
I don't know. Dreams are nice.
Mm-hmm. So why are people able to like put their like fists up to their mouth and click their tongue and like a smoke ring comes out like without a it's like their saliva.
What? Where
Sorry,
did this come
I
from?
saw some kid do it earlier today in like my conditioning class, and he's like, he did that, and he's like, I don't have a vape. I'm like, I know, I've seen it before. Like people are just like they make like a sound like, and it's like inside their mouth, but they have their like. Some people can do it without their fist too, and they just kind of like click their tongue in a weird way, and it just smoke ring. They create like a gas in their mouth.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Look it up.
This is very off topic.
Well, I just had a. It was on my mind. I just had a mention. You know.
Mm.
That's another thing about mortality and motivation. You see, I'm good at this. Um Communication between people as well. And it goes back to the whole economics top earlier about motivation, what drives the world to function. But again, and the narcissism thing is you need communication to heads work better than one, bounce ideas off of each other to get farther and closer to the quote unquote end goal. Um I don't, I don't think there really is an end goal, honestly.
For what?
Life. That's the thing that defines life is that there is no end goal. The closest like the closest word you could use to describe life, like when people say what is life, probably the closest thing you could describe is why, because life is a question itself. It's less of a statement and more of a question. I mean,
Exactly.
there might not be a set answer, but there is an answer to look for, you know?
Exactly. Don't. The way I look at it is, don't try to explain why. Ask why. There will be people out there to explain some of those whys, but don't only try to seek the explanations for other people.
Yeah.
They will come as time goes, and later in life.
He's like, I don't know why, but I don't know why that made me laugh.
Anyways, as you come around and start noticing like certain, I swear to God, I will kill you, cook you, and eat you. Anyways, um, I don't know. There's just
It's not off your mind now, is it?
no, it's not.
I am a what's it called when you like manipulate someone's mind? What's it called when it's like the opposite of an exhale? Where it's like exhale but inwards. Uh but um yeah, what's it called when you're able to like whatever. Anyway, continue.
Okay.
Proceed.
But I don't know, there's you put it perfectly. Like life is just a big why. Don't don't try to make it out to be don't make life a definition. Make it a question. You can have semi questions and semi definitions for it, but they're always, or at least should, end in a why. Because your life is going to be different from everyone else's no matter what you do. You can have very similar like experiences, but the moment those experiences end with that other person that you share, or you share those experiences, your thoughts are always going to be different. One great example of this is, why are our thoughts and experiences different? You could answer that, but you could also always respond with why. Nice clicky keyboard. You know, you could turn your gain down.
They don't know that I muted my mic.
No, I heard it.
Well, not on Discord. That's two separate mutes. Either that or I had to press
Oh.
the physical mic button and go. So.
I always press the physical mute button.
Oh my gosh. It's fun. I made an asthma joke in chat. I'm really funny. Speaking of which, oh, remember when we had that talk about remember when we had about that talk about depression?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I think that's really funny. Me and Storm had a talk one night, and I think this is a really interesting point. I was watching, so I've been learning a lot of psychology, and I think my anatomy teacher or my English or maybe both recommended psychology classes because apparently they're really interesting. But anyway, because they are, not biased or anything. We were learning a bunch of psychology and stuff like that in English for the assignment, and one of the YouTubers brought up, and they were psyched to go, which it's really weird. They used to pop up on my recommended feed a couple times, and they have a few interesting and valid points. But I was watching one of their videos, and it was like how to tell if someone's like fake being okay, and it brought up a bunch of valid points. And one of the interesting ones was how depressed people find their way of humor. Right, people with like diagnosis of depression, right? Think of the whole steal. Find their sense of humor. And some people, and you've seen this more prevalent, where people laugh at themselves, right? And they become the laughing stock. But others that may ridicule others to make themselves feel better, like the school bully or whatever, right? But you find, and some people are able to make a really well mix of these. And they also found that like 90 something percent of comedians have diagnosed depression, which is
Oh yeah, I
so
remember exactly what
wacky.
you're talking about now.
Yeah, it's so interesting though, right? Which is it's and I also I've been mentioning this psychologist a lot. I think it's called like Healthy Gamer or something. I don't remember. Um, but it's the psychiatrist slash therapist. He was like looking at TikToks and ridiculing them, and he was explaining. Shoot, I had the thought in mind. Hold on. He was explaining, oh yeah, how he was explaining the pros and cons of like coping. He was going into like the whole like how depression works, and if you notice how people with depression, and these are really the valid points, um how they learn to cope and survive, because you've like every single person with depression has found some way in order to deal with their depression somehow, right? Because obviously they're still alive if you're talking to them, right? So everyone finds their own ways to cope, healthy or not. This is what works for them, right? And he mentions, which makes complete valid sense of like these sort of foundations that these people have. they kind of like they build on themselves like unstably, and they're quick fix, right? And he explained this analogy where like you you have a socket behind your desk, right? And you need to plug in your computer to that socket. Well, now
Mhm.
you need to rearrange your furniture, right? But like there's also a socket in the room over. And instead you find a quick fix with an extension cord, and you just use the extension cord to plug it into your computer instead, right? So now you have a quick fix, and now you have no reason or motivation to actually fix the issue. Now you have some crappy solution that you're gonna trip over the extension cord. It's gonna become a hassle, and that's what coping kind of does to you. Is, I mean, again, everyone does it differently, but you have this sort of quick fix and you go, okay, this definitely works, and you really have no motivation to go further, right? But obviously, and there is some people that go out there and they seek help, they seek therapy and stuff like that. And obviously I recommend everyone to try, if you have the ability to, everyone, anybody, seek therapy at least once, see how it feels. Everyone has their own struggles, right? And I feel that like for a healthy mind, you need a stage of your life where you have a friend and a psychologist to rely on. So
Mhm.
not only can you have some sort of, because friends, of what they're for is for helping you cope, right, and helping you deal with your issues, and someone to rely on, and a psychologist is to help you figure out the issue with you, and they're not going to hand it to you. They're going to guide you in the right direction, right?
Well, that's because all therapists, they cannot
It's not their job. Yeah,
tell you. Well,
we've had this right
it's not
before.
their. Yeah, we have, but I mean, it's not one. It's not their job, and two, they can't.
Yeah, you
They
have to
can.
fix yourself.
They can definitely lead you in the right direction for starting to get help, but they are almost never going to be able to actually fix your issue unless you are willing to fix your issue.
Yeah, yeah. um Back to the ramble. um he was stating how like you find these ways to adapt and survive, and they work, right? They get you far, and you have these set of tools that you've created for yourself. And going to you can go to a therapist and a psychologist, and he stated that some people that he's worked with, he stated that they might use these tools that they've learned and picked up for about a year, but a year after treatment they might not have to use these tools anymore, right? They might have, not that they're fixed or anything, but they might have their own set of ways, like healthy ways to help, um and same thing with medication, right? But again, some people might go, okay, I've tried therapy once or twice, I've tried medication, it just doesn't work for me. And unfortunately, some people might just be stuck with the resources they've given themselves, which sometimes isn't bad for people, and sometimes people get through it. But point being, it's tough. you know
Yeah, but
it's
I
interesting.
get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone should at some point try try everything at least once. Everyone, you always hear it, but I feel like a lot of people don't actually take it,
Yeah.
or take the advice. But you're never going to know what helps and what doesn't help if you don't seek that help. And it's not bad to recognize that you need that help. And like, out of everything that I've noticed coming on from the future and coming up from the past, is that the things that are getting better is acknowledging the fact that it's okay to need and want help.
Yeah.
Because I feel it used to be a point where it was like, you don't have an issue. No, you don't. Who says?
That is totally facts. I feel like when people struggle with their issues, I feel like it's less of, sometimes when you see someone fake being okay, it might be less of like, like a lot of people out there, they might fake being okay for the social aspect, right? But but what it really boils down to, again, with the tools they've had to help them adapt and survive, they've learned that if you somehow tell yourself that you are okay and that you're not truthful with yourself, your exact faults and all that. Oh my god, you might fuck, you might not necessarily be lying to other people as more as you lie to yourself. It's hard to be truthful to other people in the way you feel if you're not really truthful to yourself, and that's one of the hardest parts of like dealing with your problems in depression, of course, right?
Yeah.
They were barking like this all night last night.
Oh, no, thank you.
I had a hard time falling asleep. They usually die down around 12 to 1 in the morning, but
Oh, all I heard was they usually die.
oh no.
And it, I'm happy you finished your statement there.
Yeah. Mhm.
But back to the topic at hand.
Yep. That was the end of my statement.
Oh, okay. But I don't know. There's a lot of and flip it.
You need your turn to have a stroke. You need to have a stroke.
No, I think I'm fine.
I think. How do you clip stuff? I need to know.
You can't. Yeah, you just can't.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. You just can't. You can't.
I'll look it up later.
Let's
anyway,
see.
go on.
We have about an hour left, or just under an hour left, and we haven't really talked much on mortality and mostly motivation.
Well, I mean, that was the big part of motivation right there.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't talked much about mortality.
The big goal. I know it.
I mean, God, my nose is like making my ears ring.
I mean, we could have our subject. It's not like the title of this has to be about mortality and motivation. We could change the title whatever we want, but point being, we've already touched a lot about of our ideas, and especially involving religion. Which, by the way, I'd like to say, why, whenever thinking about some sort of afterlife or some sort of reason for existence, it has to be religion or science or whatever. And even then,
Really
it's
hoping.
some people even consider science a religion. And I mean, hold on, what defines a religion though? Because I think they're not entirely off though, right? Here we go. Religion is usually defined as a social cultural system as behaviors and practices, morals, belief, world views, text, sanctioned places, prophecies, ethics, organizations that generally relates to humanity, supernatural, transcendental, and spiritual elements. However, no scholarly consensus over what precisely consists a religion. Okay. Basically, how we got here. Morals, behaviors. That's basically, and it says supernatural, but that's from an atheist standpoint. I'm assuming for whoever wrote this, because for what's supernatural to some person might be normal to another, But I mean, at that point, like if you're Christian and you view it from a like if you're like diehard one religion and you look at science and you go like there's no way these things went together and created this in this specific way, or mother nature, right? There's no way that like this lucked out to be this thing, because luck in mother nature in itself feels like a spiritual thing. So by that definition, technically science could really fall under some sort of religion, like as the definition. But it's really weird that like anything mentioning mortality or what's after death or anything, it has to be religion. It has to be under those categories. Are you okay? You haven't talked. Uh-oh, he's gone radio silent. Something's up. Uh-oh, I'm getting DM'd. Something's up. Oh, his computer crashed. Uh-oh, he's not in the call anymore. Anyway, guys, welcome back to the Midnight. We lost our milk podcast because I mean, what's a podcast without the other person? Speaking of, what's the point anymore? We've lost our only companion through our midnight milk ride. I, I don't know if I can run the midnight without the without the milk podcast. He's literally half. It's 50-50. I can't do this without him, dude. Oh, time to put oh,
Back.
he's back from the dead.
My computer crashed.
I went on a whole rant about mortality and religion, and you were not there.
No, I was not.
You left the call, and I started having like an existential crisis.
Well, I didn't hear any of it.
I was about to put out the intermission card. I was like, I can't carry on anymore. It was too much of a burden.
Too much of me to handle.
Yeah. It's a 2-minute job. Anyway, I'm gonna recap what I said. Anyway, science by book definition could be considered a religion to some people. Because I mean, it's a long explanation, and I didn't explain it entirely good myself. But what it boils down to is the question is, why does anything relating to mortality or what's after death or motivation or how the world function has to relate to religion?
Yeah, I get exactly what you mean.
It was a question, not a statement. I was asking you.
Oh. Well, I feel like everyone. Well, I've mentioned this before, especially on the religion podcast that we had.
You
But
texted
I
me
feel.
too.
I think I did.
Yeah.
I want to say it's because everyone feels the need that when they die, they need something to cope to. Because if once they die, you're dead. kind of the whole situation there, and so you literally have no way of coming back, or as
And
far as we're aware of.
well,
And so if
it's a motivation to keep on going, because what's the point if we're just gonna die anyway? Kind of question, you know?
but the reason that people always tie one or like tie death or immortality to science or religion is because they want to feel grounded to this reality, or that once they pass on, they will still have the ability to do as they please.
You know, I have an entirely different statement that I can make on it that also makes sense.
All right, let me hear it.
Sorry if this offends anyone. I was having a conversation with one of my with the uncle that was on the podcast, Uncle Jeremy, and we were in Kentucky, just across the bridge of the border from Indiana to Kentucky. We were at some sort of burger restaurant. Oh my god, these dogs. Um, and he was basically explaining how he views religion as, well, I don't want to say that. He had like, I don't want to put words in his mouth, you know. He mentioned this view of um religion can be a way as to fall back on some sort of thing that you like. If you can't explain something, religion is the answer, right? God is the answer, right? If you don't know the answer to something, throw in a god, you know. Like, and he threw up this example that he stole from somebody else, which was, back then, some people used to think that there was a sun god, and that there was horses that used to pull the sun across the sky until night, you know, because people didn't know how the sun worked back then, right? And here's the explanation they came with: it's a god. It's out of our reach. It doesn't. There's no way we would know. So here's an explanation, right? And I'm sure they had evidence and claims to back it up, but it's the same thing for death. We don't know what death is like until we die.
We
And
just know that you stop existing,
yeah,
and everyone else just thinks that there's got to be an explanation to it.
yeah,
Because no one wants to think, okay, no one wants to think this right here. When you die, everything that you have experienced, everything that you have learned, everything that you have once created is now lost forever from your mind.
better yet, no one wants to think this right here.
What?
Exactly that. That's terrifying.
That's yeah. Oh yeah. Like a second, but yeah.
Yeah. It's just
Oh,
sheer it's nothing. I mean, it's not like you're conscious. There's no thought about it. There's no recollection or I don't know, when you take in information, the word for that. There's no none of that. It's just nothing.
but that right there should be your driving um factor, and that should be your motivation
Oh, that's
to
totally my motivation.
want to keep going. Is you do not want to live that life that we do not know is true or not. Don't live your life knowing that that's going to be what ends up happening and not doing anything with it.
Yeah.
I do not mind if there is something that you cannot complete and you just genuinely can't. That is different from not using your potential that you have. Because everyone has the potential to do whatever they want, and within the laws of physics. But everyone has the potential to reach their dream job. Everyone has the potential to want to invent something that they've always thought could help the world. Everyone has potential. But what is awful to see, and what always makes me think that they could be working harder, is seeing that potential not be used.
We need to do a webcam special.
We do need to do webcam special.
I haven't set it up. I haven't cared enough to.
Fair enough. See, I don't know. There's
We
just
should
so
probably
many.
just have our podcast like that at that point. Like at one point, we just regularly. It's because it conveys so much emotion as well, and for the ones who want to see visuals to understand, and especially facial cues as well, because a big part of communication is you have just the sheer the context. You have the vocal side of it, and then you have the body posture and facial expression, right?
Yeah.
And it perfectly conveys what the other person is thinking. Though I do have a resting bitch face,
Yeah, yeah,
so
that too. That, and I don't know
I
if you.
think you do too.
It depends. It's sometimes,
We're
but
both very inexpressive with our faces.
yeah. But Toasty, about what you were saying, like that's just it. Like, if granted, you are grounded by Newton's laws of physics and motion, and also any other theoretical physics that are still applied to us today. But point still stands is that if you want to become an astronaut, if you want to become, I don't know, an astrophysicist, or, whatever your dream job may be, you can accomplish that. But what everyone is not motivated to do is take that time to do it. I feel like that is what is everyone's demotivating feature. It's time. It takes a lot of it. And the knowledge that we don't have a lot of time, we want to do as much as we can, but in knowing that what we want to do takes that time, we also worry that if we do not get to where we want, and we can't achieve or don't achieve what we want to do, that is that time where we could have been doing something else. That's a very valid reason as to why people don't do certain things and don't live up to their potential. But I feel there's a stigma and a thought that needs to be broken down soon. Because if people can start realizing that, yes, you do not have much time on this planet, in this mortal coil, you still have time. With normal life expectancy and no other causes, you have about 80 years. 70, I think it's gone shorter though, but you have 70 to 80 years life expectancy. Now, that seems like a lot of time, but it really isn't. But that should be the reason you want to do things. That should be the reason you want to do what you want to do. Live experiences. Don't just view them, live them. And also try not to just watch other people's experiences. If you see someone doing something you enjoy a lot, if you see someone doing something you've always wanted to do, you can do that. If you've seen someone buy their dream car, you can buy your dream car. If you've seen someone
Nerd.
buy if you've seen someone buy the house of their dreams, you can do that. If you've seen someone start a family, you can start a family. There are many things you can do in this life with the amount of time you have. So do it. It's scary. It's terrifying. But take the time to do it.
Gosh, time is honestly one of the less visualized things. I'm sure, like, I'm surprised there's not a religion based on time
Honestly.
because it is quite literally the start and the finish, or the lack thereof.
Exactly.
It it is. I can't fathom the idea of how time works in my head. I've never been able to understand it because, like, I mean, do
Shut up. I wasn't going to mention it, but I thought it in my head.
do different animals or species or organisms, like, do they view time at a different pace or anything like that? Because
They do. Actually, real fast, there was a study on bees.
Mhm.
Bees have perception of time. And the reason they did the reason they know this is because they would give these bees water
Mhm.
at, let's say, high noon. They would come out every single day at high noon. When they took the water away, they would still come out at high noon. They even put bees into a cave, and they would still come out at high noon.
Yeah.
But then they decided to fly those bees to Japan, or wherever it was. They went out for that water at a different time because they were jet lagged.
Hmm. That's so weird. It's like, that's so weird though, because it's like time is just always moving, and what we perceive isn't really like truly what time is. Like,
Mm.
we only see time as the way our brains will process it and perceive it. Like, our lives might be going much faster or slower than how time actually moves. It probably faster. I don't know. It
And there are some animals, like owls, that are able to travel up, I think, to like 200 kilometers per hour, and their brains think at that speed. So
that's
time, or
crazy.
they perceive time in slow
Oh
motion.
yeah, that is one of the other things where is like space and time. Like, space literally warps time, which no matter how you explain that to me, that doesn't make sense.
The fact that black holes and other astronomically large, like, planetary objects can warp time. I want you to take this and I want you to think about this. So black holes have an event horizon, correct?
Oh.
Well, that event horizon is spinning so fast that, let's say you have a spaceship that is ginormous, and one side of the ship is closer to the black hole and the other is further away from the black hole. There could be years from the front of the ship to the rear of the ship.
That's so weird. But then you could just walk there, right? You
Yep.
know?
You
And
could
that's
let's say there was an elevator from one end to the other end. You would ride that elevator. They would be either years in the future or years behind you. You could literally watch it happen too.
and that is
Let's say
it.
you had let,
Oh.
let's say you had cameras, okay? Let's say you had cameras at one end to the one end. You could literally watch this all happen.
But how does those cameras perceive time?
They slow down.
But we're if say they're at a slower pace and we're at a faster pace, and those cameras are showing you the slower pace, what do we see in the cameras?
we would see either the faster or slower end.
Really?
Oh yeah, but
Okay. This doesn't make sense to me. So, if one side of the ship is closer than the other, and this is all theoretical, right? Does your cells age faster, like on one side of the ship than the other?
technically, yeah. Technically speaking, with I'm pretty sure with theoretical physics. Now, I need to look more into it because there's a phenomenon called I can't remember what it's called, but there's a name for what I'm describing.
Yeah.
But when these black holes warp time in that instance, like everything we just said, it happens. The cameras will show a different speed compared to what you're doing, or not only that, but your cells will age at the rate at which you are, or time is being either accelerated or slowed down.
Yeah.
So
So,
there was one Doctor Who episode that dived into it,
mhm.
but I need to rewatch that episode.
Okay. Here, I feel like here's a better way to like wrap your head around it. Time is less of a progression and more of like an endless string, right? And this is the like whatever the string theory. You from our knowledge, you can't go back on the string, right? But you are, no matter what, you're progressing forward. And like which I'll explain what doesn't make sense to me in a second. Some people might go faster on the string, like some things might go faster on the string than the other. But regardless, you're always like progressing towards the end of the string, which we don't know if it exists or not, right? And which fucks with me is that, okay, so one side of this like ship is like time is going faster than the other, right? But like from an outside perspective, it's all still progressing, but like, I mean, you're just okay. Watching both of those sides from Earth, right? You're watching both of those times go one faster than the other, and you're viewing it from a completely different pace. So, like, oh, looking at it from an outside perspective, like, it's all still going at one pace, but still one pace is faster than the other. But it's all still going at one pace. It doesn't make sense to me, you know?
Mm-hmm. Like I feel like that's what everyone needs to think about is that time is relative,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately,
God.
and but that's another thing that like that's what makes people so scared is that they are not like the thing that literally controls people's like births and deaths are relative.
Yeah.
Like the thing that people are grounded by their literal date of birth down to the like exact millisecond their atoms were created or not created but like formed into them still is relative. They can't even be grounded by time.
It's so weird. And why? Why? It why is there not a religion on this shit? You know? Because it's a big old why and it needs an explanation. I feel like there's just no way to explain it. If there was an explanation, we would have one. Bogus or not.
And that's why so many people depend on God. It's because if they say that someone, and that's one I think is one of the big features is one person is grounding them.
God can't help time.
No, but they say that he created it. But also
Oh,
the people that
did
rely
he?
on God, the people that rely on God also don't usually research or talk about how time is relative.
Yeah, well, it's all again, science is like an opposing religion, you know. It,
Yeah, Scientology in and of itself is its own, or could be considered its own religion for just how devoted people can be to where they are
yeah.
spending their whole lives theorizing. But I don't know. Mortality is one of those things that if you think too much into it, you will be very demotivated to doing certain things. But the way I look
Yeah.
at it is I try not to ground myself with time and more so ground myself with
Progress.
progress.
How much you've completed on the string.
Mm-hmm. Don't think about what. Don't think about how many hours you've been on the string. Just think about how you've been on the string,
How how much you have done.
and think about what you've done on that string.
Yeah.
If you can walk across this string or this tightrope, whatever you want to imagine it as, if you've even made it just a 1/4%, that is still more progress than you would have made looking at it. You know what I mean?
Uh. Uh-huh.
But also don't gauge yourself based on what other or where other people are on that string. Because if you gauge your whole life on the fact that someone may be halfway while you're still at the beginning, maybe they got a head start. You know
Oh,
that.
and oh god, everyone has like a different place on the string too, and it's so weird. And people on the same strings can help. That's how generations work, by the way. Is
Mhm.
you set up the next steps for the people on the later side of the string,
Yep.
farther down the string. And it's like it's all like building to make progress on this giant tightrope just to see how much we can do.
But here's the question: why are you walking on that tightrope?
We were put here forcefully.
Were we?
Uh,
You
I
started some. You started somewhere. When did you start?
with your mom.
Where to
do,
God?
do you want me to explain it to you, Storm?
You know what?
I know
Yeah.
what you mean. No, I know what you mean though.
And real fast, I want you to realize that we've been here for an hour and 42 minutes.
I've known that.
It's so easy to keep track of time, but so easy for you to realize the fact that you've been keeping track of time, you've lost it.
Mm. You're always that's the biggest fear. You're always losing time. No one likes losing things. You're always losing time. What's the optimistic way of looking at that, Storm? You're usually like, "Oh, here's another smart way to say it." What's the optimistic way to look at it? You're always gaining progress? Is that what it is?
No, I wouldn't even say it was like that. I would always say that time shouldn't be looked at as being lost and should be more as a completion bar.
That's what I just said.
I
You just
guess.
reworded you just reworded it.
I don't know.
So
Describing
back to Elden Ring. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
describing time in a positive light is really difficult. You can do it, but it's relative. Time is relative to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone's perception on why they believe that they need to do what they do in that amount of time will always change someone. It'll always the perception and idea on it will always be different, no matter what you do.
That's really funky.
Mm-hmm.
Us sitting here and just kind of throwing out questions with very vague answers makes us sound intelligent. That is so weird how that works. People view intelligence as a scale of how much people question things.
Because that means how much you're open.
I mean, that's the whole foundation of philosophy and wisdomful philosophers. And one of the statements of like uh I don't remember the statement from that philosopher. Um was like, the thing that makes me smarter than this man is the fact that I'm not certain about my answer, you know? It's I'm always still questioning. And that's what it's so weird how intelligence is like raised on a scale of how much you can question.
Hmm.
Because I
But I
mean,
mean,
brains can only comprehend so much, you know.
exactly. But you can also gauge your intelligence on how people are able to not be stuck on that question.
Oh yeah,
Because, there are a lot of people out there that, like, for example, with death, mortality, some people just cannot think about it without just, like, getting a migraine or getting a headache. Which,
yeah.
that's not to say or belittle you or, like, say bad about you. It's just that
Oh, it's not
some
like we're
people,
comprehending it.
well, yeah. We are just able to talk about it and more deeply dive into it.
Yeah.
Well, from our own philosophy, that is.
I don't know what you're talking about. My brain's having a meltdown. It's like that one SpongeBob episode with all the file cabinets is burning right now.
I'm doing really good so far, but
I
that's
always
because
I always do that.
but that's because I've thought about this on my own.
Well, I mean, so have I. I just I don't know. I think about a lot of stuff all the time, and it's really straining.
Fair enough.
I guess I just have less of a limit. My IQ is not that high. Like it's high, but it's not like I'm not like Einstein.
Yeah.
Obviously. But it's just it's high enough to the point where I just go, "Huh?" Basically.
You remember when all intelligence used to be was when you could answer a question,
Yeah.
but now intelligence has changed to how you ask a question.
It's wacky.
It is very wacky. It's nice to think about, though.
Well, and also the biggest part about that is that by asking questions, you have a higher chance of actually getting answers. Because if you don't
Mhm.
ask questions, you're not going to get the answers, you know? So it's, I mean, you gain more knowledge, you use that knowledge to build, whatever. But it's, I mean, what it boils down to is the fact that you asked the question in the first place. It's the chicken and the egg argument. There it is.
Remember whenever you would I bet you everyone's done this at one point. You're sitting in the car and you just start asking why.
Yeah.
Think about the parents that are like, okay, stop asking why.
Well, it's, yeah, they might be simple to them, but you don't know, you know?
Exactly. But no one takes that in. I feel like not many people take that into consideration. I
Yeah.
feel like once we become adults and we have children,
Oh, I'm gonna do the same thing. Why?
well,
Why? Why don't you shut up for just 2 seconds?
but I mean that like questions aren't going to be so like not taboo. I'm not. What word am I thinking of? They're not going to be so shot down
Because we're in the open era.
because we can't. Well, yeah, that too. But we can't have hypothesis without questions.
Isn't that what a hypothesis is?
I guess, but technically speaking, my answer isn't wrong, or my statement isn't wrong. You can't have a hypothesis without a question if a hypothesis is a question. A hypothesis is just a question with a goal, or with what you think will be the outcome.
I've been watching this YouTuber named Thoughty2 recently. I don't know. And he it's just weird, really weird thing. It was funny. I watched one of his videos. Is like, why are people getting so offended now? And he went into this whole psychological deep dive. It was kind of funny, but he was like, um, he answers a lot of like prevalent and prominent philosophical or just prevalent questions. And here's one saying, why do intelligent people do stupid things? Which is totally valid, but
I think I got the answer for that one.
I'm sure you do.
It's because they're always trying to figure out new things. If those smart people aren't there to do the dumb things, you would never have known that that was a dumb thing.
That is facts. Just like Elden Ring.
You didn't know you were gonna die if you went for this boss without armor on.
Yeah.
But I mean, then there are people that do the exact same things, don't get hurt, or don't do what is considered dumb. They get a better outcome, and they are looked at as absolutely intelligent.
People who play Soulsborne games are just like mentally superior.
Exactly.
They're just more intelligent. Obviously.
Obviously.
Oh, by the way, you're gonna have like 3 messages from me at like 9:03 yelling at you like my computer
I
crashed.
know, I saw them.
Oh, you just didn't reply.
Yeah, I saw them. Well, I said, "Oh, storm crashed," and then you left the call.
Oh. Yeah, it was very unfortunate.
Speaking of unfortunate, we have 10 minutes left.
We do have 10 minutes left. If you would like, we could wind down.
Let's simmer down like a church group.
Yeah.
Collector Day. Let the blood of Christ flow through us. Can I make those jokes?
I mean, we've already talked that we are basically borderline atheists.
yeah. Well,
agnostics.
actually, I'm agnostic. Actually.
Actually.
What about you, chat? Huh? What have you guys thought so far?
What do you?
That is, if anyone is still chatting among us. Among us.
Is this how every podcast is gonna end? What do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean? Was us winding down? Or being very philosophical and existential?
Oh, the church group joke?
Oh.
Is that what you mean? You did that every podcast about the oh yeah. Well, yeah, we always the thing is like thoughts about like I don't know, we did like talked about the aspects of health which involve mental, physical, and all that stuff. And again, you health, mortality, living, the aspect of living. There you go, religion.
I mean,
Religion ties into like everything.
Exactly. Mewtwo brings up a great point. It's like, you might not be religious, but it is never hurt to listen to them speak.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get their viewpoint on it, and then that's how people form their own opinions. People form their own opinions based on hearing certain aspects of what they believe.
See, and this is why I'm straight middle in the political party.
Mhm.
I find it really funny. I took like 2 like online tests where it's like which side are you? Are you far left, far right? I like no joke, 50% on the dot. Both tests. So weird. I don't know why that's possible. I agree
I've said
with
this.
both sides, but they also have their faults as well.
I've also mentioned this before. Is that like? Have you noticed that things are going from... Wait, speaking of existentialism, I've said several existential crises about death for about a week after
And
I
that's
watched
why
it
we
over.
had a disclaimer.
That is why we had a disclaimer.
That is for precisely that reason.
I would put one on this one, but this one, maybe I might.
I feel like the whole podcast should just be a disclaimer. I feel like you should just put a disclaimer on most podcasts. Like we talk about existentialism. That's about it. Like just have a general disclaimer that you use and save where it's like, warning, in this podcast we talk about very existential topics. If this makes you feel uncomfortable, click off the video. Enjoy.
I still have that original one, but I'd probably create a new one just to make it sound better.
Yeah, it just make it sound very vague, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Existentialism, mortality, and that's about it. Yeah.
Wait. The only explanation is
Exception.
if is... Oh, exception. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And that... So see, that right there is exactly what we strive for. Is we aren't like... We have never once done this for the clout or the money or anything like that. I've wanted to do this because I have wanted to give other people that may not have the ideas and certain aspects of life that I have, or that have never taken the time or haven't wanted to take the time to think about them. But here we are able to give that thought and different ideas on what we perceive as, our own life.
All right, smart man.
Mhm.
the more I use my brain juices ever, like, or especially on this podcast, the more susceptible my little mushy lump in my head becomes, because I like the word penis crossed my head into it. Like, you should see me after these podcasts, bro. I'm so out of it.
I don't think I ever want to see you high. I think I'd be very fearful.
I don't think. Yeah, no. That is like the exact reason I don't want to drink or get high, because I feel like it'd be dangerous, dude.
It'd be a menace to society at that point.
I'd do something stupid, like steal like a soap dispenser from like like a Walmart, and I feel like
And then you would walk home, walk inside, and go, soap.
I totally would. That is so true. I'd text all my friends saying, "Guys, look at this soap dispenser I got from Walmart."
Did you buy it? No.
No.
Why'd you take it? Soap.
Stop! You're gonna get an internet. You're gonna create an internet trend where people start stealing soap dispensers from Walmart.
Oh no! Started a devious lick trend.
Oh no!
I think this is why me and Zenith relate so much. Just because we would both do the exact same thing. Fifth grade little boy level humor. That made me giggle, unironically. Soap.
That is so true.
For real, dog. For
I
real,
have a soap shrine of like Walmart soap dispensers. They go to the same Walmart every time. Every time they have to keep replacing the soap dispenser, I keep stealing it.
You get blacklisted from Walmart.
I'd get arrested.
Dude, have you seen those? Have you seen those people that have like water fountains in their house?
Oh, they just take them?
No, they buy them, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. There are people that have like that just have water fountains.
I heard someone who performed a devious like where it was like a whole entire like stall divider. Was that? Yeah, it was like something like that, which is crazy. Like stuff like like the top of toilet seats, stall dividers, stuff like that. Like, it's one thing to like first of all be able to conceal that and take it out of the school. And then you need a getaway driver. You need a getaway driver at that point. But second of all, you have to go in with the tools prepared. You have to disassemble that thing first.
That reminds me. So I was in band. This was about 8th grade year, I think. And we were getting ready for all district. And I'm in the back room, just kind of sitting around waiting for my stuff. And then from the bathroom, all I hear is just gung, 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 gung.
Mm-hmm.
I went, what the hell was that? Walk inside of the bathroom to see my friend Hudson holding the divider from the urinal to the sink.
What?
He had clipped it with his shoulder on accident, and it just fell off.
Nice.
Just made the loudest. You could hear it from the band room itself, and that's like a good I would say like good 10, 20 feet. Jeez. And oh my god, he was so funny. You just walk in and him go, can you help me?
Pens down and everything, just.
We put it back.
Oh Lord.
Oh Miss Allen, our band director, was just like, "Oh my god,"
It's hilarious.
and just went on about her day. It was so funny.
You just imagine being the band director. You hear like a loud thud from the boys' bathroom, and they're like, "What's going on?" And like some people come to check it out, and you just hear like stupid laughter come from the bathroom.
Oh no!
what
Like
could
the
possibly
band
be going
directors
on?
didn't know until we told them.
Yeah.
Somehow they didn't hear it.
What?
I don't know how. I heard it from the back room.
Hmm.
Now, granted, the back room isn't that far, maybe like 10 feet, but still, she was closer, and she didn't hear it. I swear to God, that was one of the funniest shit.
That's very nice.
But I guess I think it was around like it was really early in the morning. No, it was right after school. I think it was around 4 o'clock. But I don't know. But speaking of time, it is 2 hours on the dot, or a little bit past. So we could start winding down and getting it to a close if you would like.
I think we've been winding down enough. I almost
Is,
had fun.
is mayonnaise an instrument?
Okay.
No, Patrick, mayonnaise is not an instrument. No, Patrick, horseradish is not an instrument either.
So anyway, Storm has been muted. He has. I have complete power over like your will to speak. You could
Yeah,
just,
you do.
I can just mute you and then do the rest of the podcast. I could like probably ramble for like 15 minutes and have you muted and you wouldn't know. And like you would be like talking and giving your input and I just keep on going and I'd be like interrupting you too.
Well, I have the stream open, so play my instrument. Well, my parents just went to sleep. And my trombone isn't
How
downstairs.
come we now have 11 viewers now that we're at the end?
We've actually had pretty consistent from like I haven't seen it dip down lower than 5.
Yeah, Sim. Uh-oh, I hid the viewers. How do I unhide them? Okay, we're good.
Unless you're about to go into a panic.
Anyway, end podcast. Podcast done.
Oh no! Give him a
Do you want
thing.
me to do? I have to do it.
Do you want me to do it,
Do
buddy?
I have to do
Do you want me to do it, buddy?
it?
Are you too tired?
I don't know if I have the brain capacity. I think I'll stumble a bit.
Oh.
Ow.
Oh my God. Oh.
They're chanting for me. I think I have to.
Yeah, you gotta do it now.
Well, that has been the end to yet another philosophical, psychological, and sociological, if that's a word, podcast at the Midnight Will Podcast, or I guess it's like, honestly, it's like the existential podcast at this point. We're gonna have to set up disclaimers now. Thank you, Storm. But I really hope you guys really did enjoy this week's or this month's really Midnight Milk ride, and we'll catch you on probably the near future because our production's a little slow. So that has been Storm.
Hello.
Stormageddon 006. And I, Zenith, and we really hope you guys did enjoy this week's Midnight Milk Ride. Catch you on the next one.
See ya.